Hey folks, welcome to Carbon Garage. Over the last couple of weeks I've done a few little things to the TVR, including looking at a slightly dodgy earth that I had, and also changing my brake pads to some new Brembo ones. A little bit of background to this. So for about 10 years or so I've been a big fan of EBC Redstuff pads. Redstuff is a performance pad and it's kind of designed for sort of fast road use, maybe into light track use as well. It's not technically speaking a track pad, I don't think, but sort of fast road use is how it is marketed. I first fitted these to a car about 10 years ago and really sort of loved the performance that they gave. They give a really nice pedal feel. Performance when they were cold was pretty good, and performance when they were hot was pretty amazing. So I got these fitted to the TVR around about 3 years ago, I think. Yeah, 3 years ago, 2015, got them fitted to the TVR. And since then they've done around probably about 5,000 miles, maybe 6,000 miles, something like that. And as you can see, this one's got quite a lot of wear left on it. The reason that I changed the pads was I just kind of felt like I wasn't really getting performance that I was happy with anymore, especially when the brakes were cold. The pedal it required quite a lot of pressure to get a good bite to it, and we just fitted some Brembo pads to the MX-5s and the performance there just seemed to be so much better. And since I wasn't happy with the TVR, and since pads for that car are really cheap, a full set of Brembo pads cost me less than £40, which is like nothing. Figured it was worth trying them out and just sort of see how it was, and if I didn't like them I could just go back to the EBCs and just write off £40. It's not that much money. So when I was fitting the pads, taking the old ones off, which I did through the week there, obviously this one came off fine and everything is good, but on the same caliper this happened. So this is the friction material, and this is the bit which actually does the stopping, and this is the backing plate, and this is the bit that the claw side of the caliper essentially pulls against. And in theory these should both be really tightly stuck together like this, and they should just stay like this for all their life. Obviously with this one the backing surface has failed and the two have become detached, which is a pretty bad thing to happen, because as soon as you kind of get that, obviously this isn't working how it is meant to work. The sort of grooves in this part of the backing plate here slide into bits of the caliper, so it kind of sits kind of like that, and then it's all sort of held in place as it slides in and out. And obviously as soon as the backing plate and the friction material become detached, there's no equivalent part on this part holding it where it should be held. And I don't know if you can maybe see, but in that bit there you can see where it's obviously been rubbing against something. The interesting and kind of scary thing with this is the brakes on this car did actually feel okay. Like, I wasn't thrilled with the performance, but it braked straight and true. There was no scary noises. There was nothing that made me think, something really bad has happened to one of the pads on this car. And it's quite a scary thought that this was kind of falling apart like this, and it's a little bit of good fortune, I think, that I took the time to change it when I did, because sort of best case scenario you'd probably have reduced braking force on one wheel, but kind of worst case scenario you could have a more catastrophic failure, and if nothing else it's probably not going to be good for the disc and the other components. Now you could possibly sort of put this down to a little bit of bad manufacturing scoring here. Maybe the adhesive or whatever it is they use in these parts just hasn't worked as well as it should have. And no manufacturing process is perfect. Things do go wrong from time to time. Except it's not quite as simple as that, because when we changed the pads on one of the MX-5s, which also had EBC Redstuff on it, the same thing happened to one of them. One of the rear pads on the MX-5 had gone exactly the same way and it had split into the two parts. And at the time I kind of just, like I say, put that down to a manufacturing issue or something not to be overly concerned about. There had been a little bit of vibration in the brakes in that car anyway, so I kind of just assumed that, well, maybe that was either the cause of that, or maybe the vibration actually ended up damaging the material. But the fact that two sets of EBC Redstuff pads have failed like this, and they were fitted to the car at different times, they've both done different mileages, and the MX-5's done a little bit more, but again, nothing like the point where you'd ever expect it to fail. There was still a good amount of friction material left. I just find it really quite disconcerting, and like I say, I've used these pads for a long time. I've recommended them to a lot of people because they're pads that have given me good wear life. They don't create a lot of dust. Performance is really good as well. They really withstand high temperatures much better than any other pad I've ever used has. But you know, as soon as you start to see this sort of thing happening, I don't think I could ever recommend these brakes to anybody ever again. In contrast, the Brembos that I fitted, they're still bedding in, but they certainly have solved that issue I felt with these ones when they were cold, and they just generally feel like they're going to become much more responsive. It'll be interesting to see how they withstand the high temperatures, but I've sort of, for a while now, I've sort of kept monitoring the brake temperatures that I reach in cars, just because it's a good way of knowing if everything's working properly. If you get one caliper or one wheel which is getting way hotter than the others, it could be a sign that your pistons are sticking or something weird has happened. So I've been watching them in the TVR for a while, and it's been quite a long time since I've had anything certainly over 200 degrees Celsius, and pretty much any pad is going to cope with those sort of temperatures absolutely fine. It'll just be interesting to see whether the better performance from, say, the Brembo pads actually results in higher temperatures, but I don't think it necessarily will. But yeah, I just wanted to share this with you guys today, because if you are fitting EBC Redstuff to your car, you've already got it on. I wouldn't necessarily say take them off. Like, a couple of examples isn't a massive data point. I'm sure there are many cars that this has not happened to. But I would definitely encourage you to keep a very close eye on these, and maybe take a wheel off and actually just check it after a little bit of time and make sure that it is staying in one piece. Because brakes aren't something you want to mess with. If they go wrong, then they can have pretty serious consequences. Whether that's lightly bumping into a car in front because you're not being able to slow down, or whether it's much worse and having something happen at a high speed. It's definitely not something you want to take chances with, so if you do have Redstuff fitted to your car, I would definitely encourage you to keep an eye on it. I will be getting in touch with the company that supplied these to me, just to see if I can get money back or something like that, because they've got so much wear left on them that it's kind of ridiculous that they failed at this sort of mileage. So if I can get money back, at least for the front set, if not for the front and rears, that would be pretty awesome. But yeah, definitely something to think about. I'm going to try and get a video in a couple of weeks as well, just to walk through the earth issue that I was looking at. So I didn't film that because the nature of it would be a very hard thing to actually film as I was diagnosing it. But now that I can look back retrospectively, I can talk through kind of what I did look at, the things I diagnosed, and the actual earth point that I cleaned up, how I did that, and just give a quick high level overview of that, which will hopefully be interesting for at least some people. But other than that, that's everything that we have today. Please keep an eye on these things, guys, really important, and you don't want it to go wrong. If you liked what you saw, if you want to see more content like this, please click like, please subscribe, feel free to leave a comment, and I'll catch you guys soon.